Hey there, dissectors. Today we're delving into the history and hauntings of Adams House in South Dakota, a home so loved that one past owner named W.E. Adams is said to still reside there, making visitors aware of his presence in many different ways. But is this supposed haunting due to overactive imaginations, or is the Adams House really haunted? Well, to understand a property, you need to know a little about its history. Originally built in 1893, this two-storey home was brought to life by merchant business entrepreneur Harris Franklin, and no expense was spared. As well as being stunning from the outside with metallic shingles and turrets, the inside boasted indoor plumbing, hot and cold running water, wall-to-wall carpeting, electrical lighting, and a telephone service. Over the years, the family added other beautiful touches like stained glass windows and stenciled canvas-on-plaster wall coverings. And then Franklin's son Nathan bought the property from his parents for $1 in 1904 as a place to build a life with his new wife Ada. They too made many changes to the property, updating it to their more modern tastes, including the southern end of the wraparound porch being enclosed to make a sunroom. Then in 1920, W.E. Adams, who was 66 at the time, and his wife Alice purchased the home from his old political rival Nathan Franklin. Adams wanted a house that would reflect all the hard work and achievements he'd made in his life. He too made changes like switching the fireplaces to gas and improving the heating and old lighting systems. But unfortunately, the home that was meant to be a haven of peace for him brought tragedy within 5 years of the family living there. You see, in 1925, Alice was diagnosed with terminal cancer. Wanting to make the most of the time she had left, she visited the couple's youngest daughter in Pasadena, California, as she was 7 months pregnant. But while enjoying their quality time together, Alice suddenly dropped dead in her daughter's home. The shock of witnessing her mother's death made the daughter go into premature labour, resulting in the death of the baby, who only lived for a day, and the death of the young mother. Adams lost 3 family members so suddenly, leaving him alone as the only survivor. Their eldest daughter had died some years earlier from a disease. Wanting to commemorate their lives, Adams donated $35,000 to establish the Deadwoods Historical Museum, which today is named Adams Museum. Adams didn't want to live out the rest of his life alone though, and met a young woman called Mary while travelling on a train from California to South Dakota. She was 29 years old. The couple seemed happy enough, with Mary making her own touches to the property, including turning the sitting room into her own private quarters, even adding French doors between her room and the master bedroom. Adams himself had a private bathroom attached to his area. But sadly, Adams died at home from a stroke 7 years after getting married to his second wife. But it seems he never left. Mary said that she could hear his spirit walking around on the second floor of the property, and maybe this was the reason she decided to close the house up, leaving all their belongings inside, and it stayed this way for 50 years. Due to locals believing the home to be haunted, well, it kept the vandals away. Mary would return every year to see friends at the home and maintain her South Dakota residency, but over time the upkeep was too much for her. When Mary was in poor health herself, she sold the home to Bruce and Rebecca Crosswaite in the hopes of keeping the property and its contents together, maybe as a final act of love to her long-dead husband, who she felt was still living there. Over the years, the couple did everything they could to carefully renovate the property, making a note of all the changes that they'd made. They even ran the home as a bed and breakfast to make extra money, with guests sleeping on the Adams' bedsheets and eating food off their plates. But money grew tight, and with more restorations needed, a big decision needed to be made. So they sold the Adams house to the City Council of Deadwood, who had been receiving substantial amounts of money for restoration purposes from the legalised gambling of Deadwood's casino, a practice which had become legal in 1989. With a few hiccups along the way, the home has been operating as a museum since 2000, and W.E. Adams seems to be enjoying the company. He makes his presence known to staffers and visitors in playful, subtle ways. One newly hired tour guide was taking a small group around the premises when a rocking chair in Mary's room on the second floor started to rock back and forth in a very obvious way. All visitors stared in astonishment at this phenomenon until, pulling himself together, the tour guide did his best to direct their attention to another part of the house. Would you have found this unnerving to witness? Another staff member on her first day on the job walked to the second floor and was hit in the face by an overwhelming aroma of cigars, which is funny, as once an employee who worked there while it was a B&B stated she was having a smoke at the back of the property when she looked up and saw a tall, older man staring back at her. She says she quickly put the cigarette out, but as she looked back, his figure had disappeared. Maybe he was wishing he could share a smoke with her. The tall, older man is thought to be Adams, and his spirit has been witnessed also pacing back and forth in front of an upstairs window when the home was closed. Hayley Chambers, who is a curator, spends quite a lot of time at Adams' house for cleaning and restoration services. In her time, she's claimed to experience a fair amount of paranormal activity. She once received an email from Mary Kopko, who was the executive director of Deadwood History, stating that all the lights were left on inside the property. Well, Hayley knew she'd turned them all off, so was a little surprised by this comment. Unsure what to do, she started to take pictures of the house each night to prove that she was in fact turning all the lights off, and so if they were on in the morning, it was more likely to be Adams himself switching them back on. On another occasion, while Hayley was working, the sound of several people deep in conversation could be heard in various parts of the house. When she went to the rooms to investigate the noise, the voices would move to another part of the property. And when the voices aren't heard, you're still not alone, as eyes can be felt watching you as you walk through the rooms and corridors. One tour guide was standing at the top of the stairs outside the kitchen talking to a small group of visitors when the sound of footsteps approaching him from behind could be heard. Expecting it to be a colleague, he turned around but found no one there. As he turned his attention back to the group, slightly confused, a lady in his group told him she'd heard the same footsteps. Very creepy. But do we feel that the house is haunted? Well, it does seem quite likely after this many witness accounts over the years stating similar stories and describing the same figure of a man. Adams may be dead, but his spirit is definitely alive in the Adams house, in my opinion. But what do you think? Do you believe the house is haunted by the previous owner? Or do you feel imaginations have run wild over the years? Have you visited this location? And if so, did you feel anything paranormal? Or was it just an interesting place to visit and explore the history of this beautiful property? I hope you enjoyed today's episodes, my friends. And until next time, stay safe out there.